Hey everyone, welcome back to my YouTube channel. I am John Browne, and today I'm going to talk to you and walk you through the Antelope Orion 32 Plus Generation 3. So I've been using the Orion 32 Plus now for about 2 to 3 weeks, and honestly it's a fantastic device. Obviously it has its quirks. You know, you can read anywhere on the internet where people have been having problems with the software for this hardware, but I'm going to walk you through some of the quirks that I've noticed, and in fact it is not a problem with their software, it's probably a problem with your computer. The Orion 32 fits in 1 unit of space. It has 32 analog ins and 32 analog outs, which is a huge number of inputs and outputs. It also has up to 16 ADAT ins and 16 ADAT outs. It has MADI connection for up to 64 channels each way. And it can be ran with Thunderbolt, USB, and it's just a crazy number of inputs and outputs. I'm currently using this on USB 2.0, which gives me right now a maximum of 24 channels in and 24 channels out, and that is expandable to 32 channels depending on what your USB on your computer is like. So in order to utilize 32 channels, I probably think that I'm going to need a PCI Express card with USB inputs on it. And the reason for that is because obviously I have a bunch of other USB devices on my computer, such as my keyboard, my mouse, my hard drives and everything, and the required bandwidth to use this at 32 channels over USB 2.0 means that it will probably have to be run on my computer with nothing else attached. This isn't a problem with their software, this is just a logistical hardware problem, and it also might be because my computer is 5 years old at this point. So maybe the chips have improved? Who knows? So let's talk about the front panel. We have a power switch, which we can use to access the menu as well. If we hold this down, we have a lot of system menus. We have, COM interface, device info, brightness, screen save time, screen save style, factory reset, and 10M calibration. As you can see here, we have oven, lock, and 10M functions, and currently it's set to lock, which is because I am syncing it directly to this Audient ASP880, which is a set of 8 mic preamps. And I'm running this through ADAT. So in order for me not to get any clicks or pops, I have to sync to this device. I will be connecting this via analog input soon, but I didn't have the correct cable, and I'm still waiting for it to arrive in the post. Over on the other side, we have another function button. If you hold this down, it brings up another set of menu, which is a control menu. You have your clock source, your peak meter, monitor trim, line out trim, line in trim, SR conversion, SMUX in, SMUX out, and that is it. On the front panel here, you can see that I'm synced to 48 kilohertz. There's a bunch of different screens here to monitor inputs and outputs, and you can select this however you want, either through the hardware or on the software panel. We have 5 preset buttons here on the right hand side. Now this is going to become very, very useful for you when you have a look at the matrix, which is just on my computer over here. So it means you can save 5 presets. Now there are probably hundreds of presets that you're going to go through when you get onto this matrix. It looks pretty complicated, but it's practically like having a patch bay in your studio, except you can press one button and completely change the configuration of everything. So you could set one up for tracking purposes of a guitar player, and then tracking a drummer, tracking a vocalist, so that you have any effects that you want. You can have one for mixing, so then you can route all your channels through the internal effects if you want to. You can have one for mastering, so that then you can output to another device. Say you want to sum it through the Satori monitoring controller, which requires 8 outs, and you can set that up as well, and it's literally as quick as pressing a single button. And then from there, if you set up your Cubase, Pro Tools, or Logic projects, Reaper, whatever you use, then it makes the process really quickly. You open up a preset in your DAW, and then you press the preset button here for the one that you want. Easy, right? Once you've done the setup time, then you have a completely integrated patch bay that routes or routes however you want it to with press of one button. That is amazing. So let's have a look at the control panel and let's see what we've got here. So this is the routing. So as you can see, we have line in 32, we have 32 analog ins. Thunderbolt play 1 to 32 and 33 to 64. So yeah, if I was using Thunderbolt, which my recording PC currently doesn't have, then I could have 64 ins and 64 outs, and there wouldn't be a problem with any bandwidth like we talked about with USB earlier, because Thunderbolt 2 can have 20 gigs per second of bandwidth, which is way more than USB 2.0, which I think is around, what, 500? Something like that. So it is literally 40 times faster than USB 2.0. We have MADI in, 1 to 64 right here. We have ADAT in, 1 to 16. Obviously, this will be less if you're running a higher sample rate than 48 kilohertz. We have SB diff in, 1 and 2. AFX out. So this is the internal effects, which is this panel. And you can just add new effects. And I'm going to be doing a video separately for this one. Oh, loads of my things have just disappeared. I guess I need to update it. Anyway, so here's some of the effects here. So we can just apply this to up to 16 channels. I'm not too sure how many effects we can have on each channel yet. My guess is probably between 4 and 8. And this doesn't take up any of your processing power on your PC because it's got an internal chip on the actual unit, which is pretty great. And this is going to get really good for when you want to mix, because then you can start adding these effects into things that you consider important. And 16 channels is a lot. So say I wanted to have my drum bus going through to something like, you know, I'm sure some of you guys have seen this compressor before. Something like that, just to squash it nicely. Then I can do that. If I want to EQ my guitars, then I can just go over here, make it stereo. So I've got my stereo rhythm guitars and I want to add an EQ. Then we can just say, let's just add something like this, I don't know. Then we can add an EQ to it. Hey, we want a little bit of compression, that's cool as well, we can add that too. This one would be cool for snare, obviously, the 160. So yeah, we have up to 16 channels of that. And you can also get the plugin now, which means that you can run these plugins inside your DAW. And unfortunately, for now, they only allow it via Thunderbolt, so I'm going to show that in a later video using the MacBook Pro, which has Thunderbolt. But so far, what I've listened to of these plugins, they sound absolutely amazing, so I'm looking forward to showing you these in the next video. The Antelope Orion 32 Plus Gen 3 is an exceptionally powerful unit for any studio. Even if you're just recording at home, it just sounds amazing. Like the conversion between AD and DA, which actually I'll go into now. It's basically converting an analog signal into noughts and ones binary, and then processing that information and put it in your DAW in real time. And depending on what chip's being used, the quality level that's being done is basically how that will sound. In the Antelope Orion, you are getting 64 channels of in and out of this pristine, amazing sounding conversion for not very much money for that many channels. Here you have the Antelope Orion Studio, which is roughly about 2,800 euros at the time of this video. Divide by 64, and that's how much you're paying per channel for this level of conversion, which is actually not very much money. I've not had any problems with the software. I really don't understand why people are having so much problems. I'm going to put it down to either human error or computer error rather than the actual software from the device. As I said, the quirk of the USB, needing 32 channels, try a PCI Express card that is a USB hub, because then it will process the information separately from the other chips on your motherboard, and you need 80 to 90% bandwidth of the chip in order to run the 32 channels. So that's pretty much the best way around that. So anyway, this was the first video of many on the Antelope Orion 32 Plus Gen 3. I am going to show you individually what the plugins sound like with different sources on the videos coming up. I am going to record all my current YouTube videos through the ASP the Audion ASP 880 preamps or the Stam Audio 1073 preamps into the Antelope Orion. And let's see if you guys notice a difference on your end. So yeah, Antelope Audio, check them out. They do ranges of interfaces anywhere from, you know, entry level all the way through to something like this, or even crazier, the Goliath. The Goliath is basically the daddy of this thing. 16 channels of XLR inputs, 16 preamps, along with all the same features that you see in this unit. They also just released an Orion 32HD Gen 3, which means that that has USB 3, which means that you can run all 64 channels through USB, as well as HDX inputs, which if you're a Pro Tools user, have the Pro Tools HD card, that would probably be your best bet. But if you want to use Thunderbolt, this is the way to go. It's very, very stable. In USB, it was working great. I can't wait to upgrade my PC to use it with Thunderbolt. I'm going to show you via my Mac on how the Thunderbolt works in videos to come. In the meantime, thank you very much for watching. Check out Antelope Audio at your nearest dealer and be amazed at what it sounds like. It sounds phenomenal. It's amazing.